Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I wanted to do a video. It's kind of a throwback to an article I did back on the blog back in August of 2012. Um, this I like to often go back to articles from the past because they still speak of the context of how race is played out in Brazil today. So even though this article is like 12 years old, it doesn't really matter because the same issues kind of apply in Brazil today. Again, Brazil being a country that people a lot, based on the comments that I'm seeing from a lot of people didn't know these type of things happen in Brazil, right? Everybody knows about the United States, everybody knows about South Africa and other countries, but people didn't actually assume that Brazil and Latin America as a whole has these racial issues going on as well. So this is just a small article that, it's kind of again, it puts it in the context, the experience of Black women in beauty contests. I'm going to do another story, probably before the end of the week, that just talks about the Miss Brazil competition. There's only been 3 Black women who have won that competition since 1954. We're talking about 70 years. It's been 3 Black women. Up until 1986, there had, well, up until 2016, there'd only been 1. Then in 2016 and 2017, they named Black women back-to-back years. But then since then, and I called it, when I covered that, like, they're going to go back to normal. A lot of Black women activism, Black Brazilian women activism online, I feel like they just, okay, let's shut them up. Let's just name 2 different women as the winner of the Miss Brazil, and then we'll just go back to normal. Because that I called it when the second woman was crowned. I'm like, they're going to go back to normal. I'll talk about that in another time. But for now, this is a story from 1977. Apelonice Lima, the would-be winner of a 1977 beauty contest in southern Brazil, judge denied her victory because she was Black. I mean, the headline says it all, but I want to give you a few more details about this story. Before I get into it, definitely make sure you like this video and share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so you know when I put up other stories like this. And with that said, let's get directly into this video for today. So the headline, this is a headline. Rio Grande do Sul is located in the south of Brazil. And as I've said, 3 states in Brazil's south, Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, and Paraná. This region is considered the whitest region of Brazil, where 80% of those 3 states, the population considers themselves white. So the question here is, can a Black woman be, crowned as the Miss of the Rio Grande do Sul Miss competition? When you got 80 to 90% of the people in that state who define themselves as white, should she be allowed to, wear the crown of the Gaúcha? Gaúcha is a native of the state of Rio Grande do Sul. That's the question here. So in a previous article featuring the only Black woman to ever win the Miss Brazil contest, again, this was Daisy Nunes from 1986. The name Apelonice Lima came up because she was also a Black beauty contestant from the same southern state of Rio Grande do Sul. In 1977, Apelonice was supposed to have won her state's beauty contest, but she was denied this victory simply because she was Black in a state with an overwhelmingly white population, 86.5%. Below is how blogger Kiko Gonzalez reported the story, along with the actual newspaper clipping translated, detailing the story. The year was 1977. Manchete magazine, now a defunct magazine in Brazil, one of the most popular publishing successes at the time, distributed throughout the country. On June 11th, a provocative subject it offered: Rio Grande do Sul, can a Black woman be Miss Rio Grande do Sul? Below is the translated article as it appears in its entirety. Okay. Once again, Rio Grande do Sul, can a Black woman be Miss? Okay. Apolonice lost the title to Rosângela. Everything about her was perfect except her color. Apolonice Lima, 21 at the time, a college student, was elected last week Miss Passo Fundo, a city in Rio Grande do Sul located 300 kilometers from the capital city of Porto Alegre. The young woman, of sculptural proportions, 5'9" tall, 35, 25, 21, did not, however, have her name approved by the president of the panel, the journalist Cesar Romero. for an unusual reason, her black color. How would our city be seen in the Miss Rio Grande do Sul contest having as a candidate a person of color? Asked Romero. In an attempt to have the town well represented, the panel made up of local society figures cast 3 votes, with the last prevailing, in which Rosângela Emeralda dos Anjos was elected, a young white woman who came in second place. So you have the black woman here who was supposed to win, and then the woman that they gave a crown to because the first woman was black. As soon as the final result was announced, the public booed the choice. The repercussions were not limited, however, to the site of the contest. Reopening the legislative work, some councilors urged the installation of the Parliamentary Commission of Inquiry to investigate the case in every detail, referring to the applicability of the 1951 Afonso Arinos law against racial discrimination to Cesar Romero. Apelonice Lima refused to comment on the penalties that would apply to the president of the panel, merely saying, "I was very upset about all of this. It was as if they had given me a slap in the face. Until now, I had never experienced any problem related to my color." That's the end of the newspaper article at the time. And a lot of Black Brazilians would say that. I never experienced, such, racism in my face, in my entire life, But that's always the most shocking thing, because Brazil for years has prepared or unprepared its Black citizens by defining the country as a racial democracy. So then with that view and that perspective, it comes as a shock to the Black Brazilian when they experience something like this, because they were told this type of thing only happened in the United States or South Africa. Want to highlight also the 1951 Afonso Arinos law that was proposed to fight against racial discrimination. That law actually came about in Brazil. For decades, arguably centuries, Brazil, discriminated against its Black citizens and denied it. It actually took the case of a Black American woman, the famous dancer, I think it was Catherine Dunham. She was barred from a hotel, I think in Rio, like in the late 40s, early 50s. And so because of an African American in Brazil, they actually created their first law against racial discrimination, because up until that point, just taking complaints from Black Brazilians, they just ignored it. But with a Black American coming in there, they've got worldwide headlines talking about their racist practices there. So they put up this kind of fake law. I mean, it was a law, but everybody argues that law wasn't, it had no teeth to it. So all the years Black Brazilians complained against racism, they ignored it. But as soon as it makes headlines because a Black American woman was discriminated against in Brazil, now they want to create a law back in 1951. Let me see here. Going on. So this is Apelonice in March of 2021. At the time, she said after the result, it was proven that, in fact, the number of votes calculated Apelonice as the winner. Nobody ever admitted it, but racism was the cause. Some people could not accept that a Black woman represented the city, she laments. After some time, the error was recognized and the sachet was offered to her, but she refused it. This actually brought me a sad reality. I didn't know it at the time, she says, but it opened my eyes to life. From then, I became a model. I left the city of Passo Fundo and I had great memories. Despite the pain at the time, I turned this experience into something positive, concludes Apelonice. After a modeling career, she majored in physical education and went on to work as a theater and dance professor. She says, again, I suffered a disappointment. Again, nobody openly admitted racism. It was veiled again. I'm gonna pause right there because I just did a video some time ago. I think I put it up last week, where it's talking about this idea that Brazil only has veiled racism, this kind of masked racism. What's masked about this? The guy openly said, how can we have a Black woman representing our city? What's masked about that? I've questioned that for years. Sure, a lot of countries have veiled racism, including the United States, but you also have the blatant variety, and both exist in Brazil. What is veiled about somebody saying we can't have a Black woman representing our city? There's nothing veiled about that. In this case, Apelonice was removed from her job, but shortly thereafter reinstated. There was no reason beyond prejudice, and I received help from many people, she explains. The criminalization of racism by law is a great step forward, but it's not everything. The bias is there, even though it's hidden, which is unfortunate. But education is the way to change this reality, concludes Apelonice, Apelonice Salechi Lima Fuxin, today a wife, mother of one of the most beloved figures of Passo Fundo society, is a person committed to the causes that aim to promote social and cultural development of African descendants. In the Third International Congress of Languages held in Erechim, Rio Grande do Sul, she was there teaching a course on art and dance in African culture with a tranquil conscience of those who give their portion of contributions to building a better world. Okay, so the story is from the Kiko Gonzalez blog. Don't know if it's still up. This is from 2010. And the Diário da Manhã. I think that might be a newspaper. But this is a story. Way back in 1977, a Black woman was actually barred. She was excluded from winning the crown in Rio Grande do Sul in southern Brazil, specifically because she was Black. I want to bring that to the highlight because this is not something new. It's only been because of social networks that Black Brazilians have brought this up and brought this to mainstream news media outlets. And this is why I'm talking about this, because this is perception. People don't have this perception of Brazil all over the world. So unfortunately, this is a regular reality. And to put this into more context, is another story from May of 2013, how race, beauty, representation, and Black invisibility, how it plays out in Brazil. It was intriguing because two recent beauty contests at that time represented Brazil's racial ideology. And the point was this young woman, Black woman, was elected Miss Florianópolis 2013. Florianópolis is the capital city of Santa Catarina, again, a vastly majority white state. So here's a Black woman representing the capital city of one of the whitest states in the country. But on the flip side, you have a majority of light-skinned, mestizo, and white women representing 30 candidates of the Miss Bahia contest. Now, Bahia is known for having an 80% Black and brown population. So how do you explain all the light-skinned women in this contest? So in a city that's majority white in the south of the country, you get a Black woman win the competition for Miss Florianópolis. And on the flip side, on a majority Black and brown state, you got mostly women who are something like white or close to white. It speaks volumes for how Brazil sees itself and how it wants the rest of the world to see itself. How do you, I'm curious to know how people think about this. Is it wrong to have a Black woman win the competition in Miss Florianópolis in a vastly majority city and state versus having an overwhelming majority of fair-skinned women in a state where most of the people have Black and brown skin? What do you think about that? Wanted to also highlight this is another woman who, she was a finalist in the Miss Rio Grande do Sul competition. Her name is Samin dos Santos. Okay. There was a big uproar when she won and when she competed. Like, this is not what a gaúcha, a native of Rio Grande do Sul, is supposed to look like, right? Then you had the situation of, this is Mona Lisa Alcantara. She won the Miss Brazil competition in 2017. She was a second straight Black woman to win from 2016 to 2017, after one Black woman had only won it from 54 to 86, right? The first Black woman to win the Miss Brazil competition is Daisy Nunes. She won in 1986. And as I said, from 1954 until 2015, she was the only Black woman to win in that competition. So this, again, it speaks volumes to the experiences of Black women in Miss competitions in Brazil. You know, this is Daisy Nunes, who I just talked about. She spoke about racism at the beginning of her career. Some other headlines tell you what else is going on here. Historic silencing. Are there Black people in Rio Grande do Sul? Black people have been historically erased from the history of Rio Grande do Sul, even though they have a small population. They exist there. Finalists this is from 2018, a finalist in the Miss Rio Grande do Sul competition suffers racist attacks. That was Samin dos Santos that I was just talking about, this woman here. Okay. What else do we have? A recently elected Miss Brazil 2017 suffers racist attacks on the web. And that's the Mona Lisa Alcantara that I was just talking about. What else do we have here? Gaúcha Negra and Miss Brazil. It's like, you know, how can she be Gaúcha, a native of Rio Grande do Sul, be Black, and then Miss Brazil at the same time, right? What else do we have here? Recent elect. Racism is a crime. So if you're a person who can read Portuguese, you can go online and just find all of this stuff that I'm talking about. The idea that, you know, Brazil says that they have some of the most beautiful women in the world. During Carnival, Black women have some of the most prominent roles, we have some of the most beautiful Black women in the world. But when they want to promote the country outside of the borders, they don't necessarily want people thinking that these are the women that represent a beauty standard in Brazil. So that's why I wanted to talk about this story here today. You know, I have some stories that's coming up, hopefully maybe by the end of the week or next week, that I want to talk a little bit more about this. Only three Black women have won Miss Brazil in 70 years now. So what does that say about how Brazil looks at its Black population? So this is a story from 1977. Once again, it puts it on front page, the racism that goes on in Brazil, how they treat Black people. Okay, this woman she lost the crown in this particular contest simply because she was Black, and they openly admitted that. So what did you think about today's article, today's video? Drop a comment in the comment section. I want to hear what you have to say. Like this video, share this video, definitely subscribe to the channel, click on the notification bell so you get new videos when I put them up. With that said, I'm going to end this video here and request that you all come back, check out the next video that I post.